After a hard day's work, you can come back to your couch and say, Alice, cinema mode. The most useful feature of a smart home is routines, meaning when many devices can turn on or off by themselves at the same time. I set up one of these scenarios in my house to enjoy watching movies even more. And the basis for it was motorized curtains, some of which are like traditional sliding ones, and others are roller blinds that work completely autonomously, even without being plugged into a socket. And today I'll tell you how I installed and set all this up, how much it costs, and whether it's worth repeating. Let's rewind a little bit. The work on the curtains started even before the final finishing in the house was completed, because it was necessary to create a niche for installing the curtain track in such a way that it would not be visible later, and to achieve a good visual effect using lighting to shape the niche. I added more lathing to the ceiling sheathing and moved the wiring to avoid obstructions. Then, drywall was attached to the lathing. The joints were plastered with mesh to prevent cracking, and then wallpaper, the same as on the walls, was glued on top. It's better to create the niche from wall to wall and plan the curtains the same way. This way, you can visually widen the window opening and achieve a more attractive appearance. In the bedroom, there was quite a distance to the wall, so I made the niche symmetrically there. Then I received a custom-made curtain track from Anvis, a company based in the city of Kirov. Everything arrived with decorations and was nearly ready to use, even though the curtain track was over 3 meters long. The set includes special mounting brackets for attaching the curtain track. Using a laser level, I marked the mounting spot about 5 cm from the wall, screwed in the mounting plates, and then the curtain rod attaches to these plates in just 1 or 2 simple moves. The motor fits easily into the curtain track and can go on either side. It will be hidden behind the curtains and not visible. Since it needs power, I made a hole in the ceiling and ran the wire to the attic. The bedroom installation was done the same way. The next step was the stretch ceiling, and here neither I nor the ceiling installers had enough experience. In the living room, a so-called profile for transitioning to another level was used. With its help, we managed to lower the ceiling by 10 centimeters, which made it possible to create the necessary niche to visually completely cover the curtain rod. Plus, the profile itself had space for an LED strip to light up the curtains. On one hand, the desired effect was achieved, but on the other hand, it came at too high a cost. Because the ceiling height in the entire living room was reduced by 10 centimeters, I thought I would be smarter in the bedroom, so there we lowered the ceiling much less. We used the BP40 profile, which was attached with furniture brackets. The profile also had space for lighting, but another issue came up because the ceiling wasn't lowered enough. The curtain track is only visually hidden when you enter the bedroom, but when you approach the bed, the curtain track becomes visible and it doesn't look as nice anymore. Another detail is that the BP40 profile didn't have a separate diffuser. The fabric itself acts as the diffuser, meaning the strip is hidden behind the fabric. If anything happens to it, you'll need to remove the ceiling to replace it. In the living room, the profile has a separate diffuser, so you won't need to remove the fabric to replace the strip. I only saw the perfect solution later in a rental apartment where they make a ledge and lower the ceiling only near the cornice, while the rest of the ceiling in the room is raised as high as possible. You can easily make such a ledge even with regular wooden bars using the same furniture brackets. The main task here is to find more competent ceiling installers than the ones who worked for me. Next, I have to do it myself. I needed to cover 3 more window openings in the bathroom quickly, so I just decided to buy the cheapest roller blinds and tried out how they work in practice. I didn't like them. The fabric is see-through and they're not convenient for the kitchen or living room. I wanted something better. I even contacted a custom curtain shop in St. Petersburg, but they couldn't help. I'll explain why later. And then I found out there's a solution in the form of automatic roller blinds, so automatic that they don't even need a power outlet. The blinds work using built-in batteries, and it's claimed that they should last for 3 to 4 months. The blinds are custom made to the required size, which I measured in advance with a tape measure and sent pictures like these. Everything arrived in about 2 weeks. Also, the blinds are almost ready to use and are easily attached with 3M adhesive tape that was pre-applied at the factory. I wiped the window supports with a degreaser and pressed the blind in its unrolled state to stick it evenly and parallel to the window. Everything held firmly, so there won't be a chance to adjust it. You have to do it right the first time. Next came the entrance, then the guides, which also have adhesive strips on the back. On one side of the cornice, under the cover, there's a service button for setup and a micro USB port for charging after installing the blinds. The next task is to pair them with the remote control. This is very simple to do, and anyone who can read will be able to handle it, so I won't focus on this. You need to do a bit more to set the upper and lower positions of the blind.
Then you don't need the upper position anymore. Accordingly, here we have the third mode. Here we have hold down the settings button, the selector will adjust. Press the up button once, hold down the settings button again, select the upper position, adjust it, then select the lower position. Adjust it, then select the lower position.
An important point is that this procedure didn't work on the first try for one of my blinds, and the position of the blind didn't want to be saved. Just like the TV remote, the blind remote doesn't work 100% of the time, but about 98% of the time. So I just reset the blind to factory settings and followed the instructions again, doing the same steps for the third time, and it worked. The main rule is that the blind motor should twitch. That means the required action has been registered. Now the blinds open and close, they can be closed with the remote, they work automatically on a schedule, and you can also control the blinds with your voice. I needed to add large sliding curtains to Alisa, so I added them through the My Home app, which easily connects with Alisa. There was nothing interesting there, I just followed the instructions. I had some difficulties with the roller blinds. To connect them to Alisa, you need an additional device, a universal smart remote from Broadlink. The remote arrived together with the blinds. There is a separate detailed manual for setting it up, and it's also available on the Unviz YouTube channel, so it's not related to Alisa. They show step by step how to set everything up. I'll put the link in the description and add a few brief comments of my own. You need to go in, add the Broadlink remote in the app, open the remote, click Add New Device, select Air Purifier, and press something there. I don't know anything. I'll teach Alice myself. Just click here.
Сюда.
Select where it is located, then give it a name. For me, it's Curtain 3 Save. Alright, I know everything. Use now. Okay. And you need to teach the buttons. Click on button training there. Let's start with the off button. Alright. Alright. Click here for him. Here. Something somewhere, probably here. Here you need to write cleanliness. You need to write it as 433 dots, 433.92, then everything will work. If you set it to automatic every time, there's a function where it will determine the cleanliness by itself. It determines it differently every time, and it works differently each time. If you write it like this, it always works perfectly. So, where do I click next? And you need to press the button you want. I pressed it and my curtain started moving. Here, it remembered that I pressed this button. I press it to confirm everything's fine and working. Okay, you can stop here. The turn off button means close the curtain for me. Now let's program the turn on button. We repeat the same procedure. Press the button right here. Here it detected everything by itself. Let's press it. Let's press it. Well, that's basically it. Next, the task is to add this to Alice. At first it looks complicated, but actually it's simple. You just need to practice on one curtain. Literally, well, it took me about 2 hours to figure it out. After that you do it automatically, it's all simple. In Alice it's not complicated either. In Alisa you literally just need to press a couple of buttons somewhere. Yeah. There's something over here. Here. Smart home device, home. Here are these Broadlinks. You just need to refresh here and it will appear by itself. And now you can say, Alisa, turn on the purifier. And it will start working like 1, 2, 3. Because now they're called purifier. Alisa, turn off the purifier. You can assign any other phrase instead of this one, absolutely any phrase you want to say. And it works. The most interesting thing is the scenario. I need to edit the scenario about the movie theater. And I need to add a third curtain here, which wasn't here before. Let's add the curtain. I won't bore you with the setup details. That's all boring and not very interesting. Luckily, there's also a paper manual with the main points written. There's a QR code and a link where you can watch all the video instructions. Just follow the principle. Monkey see, monkey do. Just press the same buttons and you'll be fine. If setting it up seems complicated to you and you don't even want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, you can order the curtains along with installation. Specialists will handle installation and setup, so you won't need to worry about anything. I don't know if they could do this in my village, but in big cities this option exists. The main difficulty I had was with the curtain setup itself. There weren't any other issues. That was the difficulty, but honestly it's a cool device. It works on the same principle as a remote control, so it's an infrared signal. And the difficulty is that it doesn't always work the first time. It's the same with the TV. You can't always turn it on right away. Sometimes you have to press the button several times to get the TV to turn on. You just sit there unsure what to do. The thing is, what's cool about it is that you can program any remote into it, not just the remotes that come with the curtains. A TV remote, an air conditioner remote, a humidifier remote, anything at all. You can use regular devices as if they're smart. I don't have a direct line of sight. Here it's actually facing away from the curtains, and if you look at the kitchen from the remote side, this thing here gets in the way. And even without a direct line of sight, it works. It doesn't work 100% of the time though. That's why I have a scenario set up where my curtains open by themselves at 7 a.m. There are 3 scenarios set up so that they open at 7:00 a.m., 7:01 a.m. and 7:02 a.m. That's so that it doesn't happen that it fails to work. Because on the second or third press, it's like it imitates it. This thing imitates pressing the button, and it sends a signal. And if something suddenly doesn't work, on the second or third try they always work, and everything goes according to the scenario. There are several types of curtains themselves. There are regular sliding ones, there are these roller ones, there are other roller ones, there are Roman folding ones, and all kinds of others. Not everyone will find this solution visually appealing because of the guides on this box, but I chose this solution. There are standard roller blinds like the one in the bathroom, and you can choose whatever matches your taste. You can also choose different fabric colors, and basically you can choose what kind of fabric material you want. Here, the material is very high quality, and I like that they are real full blackout blinds. They don't let any light through at all, which was very important for me. The model I installed is called Uni 2. There are models that don't run on batteries, but from the mains. That is, they have a cord that you plug in somewhere. Power is supplied. For example, in my kitchen, I could have run it behind the kitchen cabinets and plugged it into the outlet I have here in the kitchen. But the thing is, for example, we have a window that can open like this, and it's not really clear how to run wires there. They'll just be hanging there. For these purposes, a battery-powered solution like this is perfect. As for how long the charge lasts, my curtains have been hanging for 4 months already, and at first I was still playing around with them, having fun. I probably opened and closed them about 50 times. During this time, they haven't run out of battery even once. So, the claimed 3 to 4 months without recharging, as stated by the manufacturer, is accurate. In my experience, this is actually true. And probably only about 3 times a year do you need to use the power supply from the kit. It's a regular standard one. Just plug it into the socket and charge it. They charge pretty quickly. Plus, I had some fun and connected a power bank instead of the regular power supply. I charged the curtain from a power bank. They don't exactly operate quietly. It didn't work the first time, but it worked the second time. Sometimes remotes do this kind of thing. It doesn't exactly work quietly, but I don't know. In my opinion, the noise level is acceptable. It also doesn't work particularly fast. But really, why does it need to be fast here anyway? In my opinion, it's quite acceptable. I hardly ever use the remote to control it manually like this. I have a schedule set so that they open at 7 in the morning and they close when it gets dark, since this changes about 3 or 4 times a year for us. I adjust the schedule to the hour when they should close. With this setup, it opens once in the morning by itself and closes by itself in the evening, and that's the greatest convenience. There's no need to worry about anything, whether your curtains are closed or not. I have a small house, so everything would be convenient and comfortable anyway. But for those who have big houses, with ceilings higher than 3 meters, and if, for example, you're a 2-meter tall person, it won't be hard for you to open and close everything. But for example, my mother is 1.5 meters tall. What should she do in that case? I was visiting someone and they actually have a special stick. I'm not joking. It's a real special stick that a person uses. And so he can reach up there where the curtain rod is high. He uses this stick to move the curtains because you can't close them by hand like that. And in such cases, automatic curtains are a real lifesaver. As for money, in the bathroom, it's the cheapest curtain you could possibly buy. 1,000 rubles for one piece at any hardware chain store. I didn't really like those curtains. I went to a specialty store in St. Petersburg to order custom curtains. I explained what I needed and showed the measurements. We started choosing the fabric and hardware. It turned out that for this kitchen window everything was fine, no problems. One half like this would cost about 5,000 rubles. But for this window here, they basically refused to make curtains for me. It turns out, for some reason, the fabric I wanted to use, the one I chose for the curtains, was too thick and too heavy. So basically it wouldn't have rolled up on the roller and the roller wouldn't have held it. And they said they wouldn't do it. I didn't see any technical problem with making it a bit more reliable or something. Well, I think this could have been solved. I asked, just tell me how much it would cost. In the end, it's like, shut up and take my money, but they refused to do it for me. For some unclear reasons, the store just didn't want to make money off me. I'm actually very glad about that, because otherwise this wouldn't have appeared here. On AliExpress, there's a solution to make any kind of curtains. For example, these are the cheapest ones, the ones you pull with these beads. There's a special block you can buy and stick onto the window. You insert these beads into it, and this block will use a little motor with a gear to turn them automatically. This way, it will open or close the curtains. It will also work via Wi-Fi. It will be smart and intelligent. But the thing is, first of all, it's small, and it won't have that much energy capacity. You'll have to charge it much more often. They usually malfunction and don't always work reliably, and this thing costs about 5,000 rubles. So, if you take a decent curtain, not the cheapest one, made of good fabric with good hardware, it costs 5,000. Add another 5,000 and you get 10,000. This solution right here immediately costs, well, just a bit more than 10,000. It was about 10,000. It's really strange to talk about prices right now because 2 weeks ago I bought ground meat at the store for 180 rubles. Now I go to the store to buy ground meat and it's already 280 rubles for the same meat. I'm giving the prices as they were when I got it. I hope they won't change much for you. The point is, as many people wrote to me like Ilya, there's a solution. You order it on AliExpress, write something on Arduino. Yes, maybe I could figure it out, but a normal person just doesn't have time for that. And as a rule, most people need a working solution right out of the box, something you just take, set up, and don't have to worry about. And that's exactly what Anviz is. We get good automated curtains without any headaches. As for whether you really need all this, let's say I have some friends over and we decide to watch a movie. And you need to turn off the light here, go to those curtains, roll them up and stand there forever because you have to do it many times. You have to move your hands, go there, then roll up the other half, then turn on the light here, then go mess with this curtain, fiddle with it too, turn on the backlight so it works here. Then I forgot, I also need to turn off the light in the hallway. Then the most interesting part begins, because you need to turn on the TV and you're like, where's the remote? And it starts, where's the remote? Where did I put it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh Lord, oh God. And you stand there entertaining yourself, but you could just say one phrase and everything would turn on by itself. Isn't that a miracle? And the best part for me personally is opening the curtains in the morning so that my wife and I are woken up by the rays of the rising sun. Of course, I still get up a bit like this. Where's the coffee? Wandering around, but I noticed that waking up like this is really easier and the day goes by much more productively. Another thing that came to my mind only at the stage of installing the curtains was that I remembered I wanted to have a front door just like the one on my terrace, meaning a transparent one, completely made of glass. But I didn't take into account that if, for example, I went to the bathroom at night, everything would be visible through it and I would need, a curtain on the door. And these Uni2 curtains with batteries are actually the perfect solution for how I could have handled this situation. Another important clarification about the money. Actually, most of the cost comes from the motor, then the fabric, and everything else after that. So it turns out that one half of this window doesn't cost much more than, say, this big window. And it's much cheaper not to have it covered with two halves, but to have it closed with a single contour. That way, it's much cheaper. In my case, just because of the kitchen and because I didn't think everything through completely, it turned out that it would have been better to do it that way. But ideally, of course, you should design it so that you can close it with a single strip, and so that when you hang it, for example, if something needs room to open, you could mount it above the opening, not on the window frame itself. The remote is multi-channel, and you can connect up to 15 curtains to it. With these kinds of curtains, the thing is that they can't be a single piece because they're slightly different in size, and that's because of the opening window sash. Because of this, the thickness of the rolls is different and the winding speed varies. It's impossible to put them on the same channel, otherwise they'll break. You need to have one on one channel and the other on another. I used to see solutions like this only in pictures, but today I have it in my own house. Every day I love how it turned out. I hope all of you make your dreams come true as often as possible, and see you in the next video.